Such a beautiful day. Wow. Wait a second. My leg. Huh? And a lemon? What? What do I do? Damn. Oh, and I'm dreaming. My hands are weird. Well, I guess I'm in bed right now. I'm sleeping. Yeah, okay then. Okay, I was just dreaming. But I had an idea. How do I improve my sleep? And I'm going to show you guys how to do it with this video. Welcome to the video. When I used to live just for fun, I played a lot of video games for hours, and I would watch a lot of stimulating videos on YouTube until very late nights. I would literally just watch porn or YouTube until like 3 a.m. and I'd become all sweaty. I also listened to a lot of music before I would fall asleep, and I also texted a lot of people. Most of those times were with girls that I obsessed over. I remember I was all sweaty under the bed covers. And on days where I had to wake up early, for example school days, the night before, I would fall asleep in like 2 hours, just rolling in bed with a lot of thoughts. And during 3 days, the consequences of my actions led me to missing the entire morning, and I would just wake up at like 1 p.m. I would also be sleep deprived on school days, and I couldn't focus for a lot of the times. I've had many fun moments staying up late, like playing Minecraft with my best friend or texting girls I obsessed over. But I knew that having shitty sleep would be a detriment, so I realized that after 2 years, and just recently, I really fixed a lot of the problems I had with sleep. So how did I improve my sleep? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you all the ways to improve your sleep. You really don't need to watch 20 videos about sleep, because this guide has you covered. Just a quick little reminder, I'm making these videos not just for you guys, but also for me 2 years ago. I used to be mindless, so I would binge watch a lot of videos about a certain topic, and I'd take little action. So if you want this video to truly help you, listen to what I'm going to say and take the small actionable steps. So what is sleep? Sleep is just the recovery moment for your mind. It reorganizes it, and also it heals your body. An analogy that I like to use is that the brain is the librarian of your mind. All of the knowledge that you have accumulated throughout your life, and also throughout the day that you had before you went to sleep, it reorganizes it like there's bookshelves. It goes through some learnings and some concepts, as well as reorganizes the things that happened during the day. In our brain, the hypothalamus is responsible for the circadian rhythm, which is the 24 natural hour cycle that we have in our minds. It regulates your waking time, your sleeping time, how low and how high your temperature is, when you're thirsty, when you're hungry, etc. These signals basically keep us alive. It's the signals that indicate our cravings, our natural ones. So if we're hungry, we eat. If we're thirsty, we drink. If we're tired, we sleep. If we're cold, we try to get warm, etc. Most of the control of the circadian rhythm is through the levels of light that you get in your eyes. And these levels of light indicate when you're going to sleep. The hypothalamus enters in communication with the pineal gland, which is the main center of secreting hormones. One of these hormones is melatonin, which regulates sleep, our breathing, our heart rate, and so on. And basically, when you go to sleep, you have cycles. And these cycles are divided in 5 stages. The first stage of the cycle is obviously being awake. And sleep is composed of 2 main categories: non-REM sleep and REM sleep. REM sleep, the REM term, means rapid eye movement. and non-REM is when you don't have rapid eye movements. And so I made a little graph of the sleep cycles, and you can see it's here correctly. As you fall asleep, which is in the beginning here, you see that you go through the 3 stages of the non-REM sleep. The deeper you go, the more asleep you are. After some short time, you reach the bottom of this peak, and then you go up again. But instead of waking up, what your body does is go through a REM stage. And after the REM stage, it goes back down and up again, and down and up again. The more cycles you go through, the longer the REM stages last, and you also get less deep sleep. Deep sleep is basically the moment when your body makes the most recovery, physically and mentally, and also when it secretes the hormones for these functions. Each of these cycles lasts about 90 minutes, and for every night, we have 4 to 6 cycles. So what does 1 extra hour of sleep do to your body? Well, it does everything. Your life changes so much when you just add 1 extra hour to your bedtime. I don't think that this hour is just a waste of time, because the hours when you're awake after you're so well rested are just so much more worth it and so much more present. It's better than to just stay up 1 more hour late just listening to fucking music. I used to think that spending more time in bed to sleep was a waste of time, but I failed to realize how much it can improve your days. So 1 extra hour of sleep gives you more muscles, it makes you stronger, it makes you mentally healthier, it makes you physically healthier. You become happier, focused, more aware, more beautiful, you literally become better and smarter. Everything in your life gets better when you improve your sleep. Now, when you have bad sleep, you're more likely going to be depressed, anxious, less performant, unattractive. It'll give you more cravings, worse memory, more emotional outbursts, and it'll just increase the risk of you dying, so you live shorter. Basically, not sleeping well is self-harm. You voluntarily reduce your time for sleep just because you want to watch YouTube or something. So from that logic, everything you want in life becomes more accessible when you sleep better. With better sleep, you can get more money, you can find yourself a girlfriend, you can make a business, a craft, you can get anything in this world. So everything will improve when you add an extra hour to your sleep. And also don't confuse this extra hour for staying up early in the morning. If you stay up in the beds just for an hour and you're awake, it doesn't count. Here's a scenario. There are 2 students who go to the same school. Both of them have the same skills and the same knowledge, and they all study regularly. Although one student is sleep deprived, and he thinks that studying 10 hours a day is going to get him closer to having 100 on his exam. Both of these students have an exam for tomorrow. Although one student is sleep deprived, and what he does is he studies for 10 hours a day, and he just feels burned out. As for the second student, who is well rested, he goes through the day smiling with a lot of energy, and for tomorrow's exam, he studies only 2 hours. The sleep deprived dude might have more time studying, but to compensate with his shitty work rates, he loses efficiency. And the well-rested student who studied only for 2 hours, super efficiently and super focused, he had the time to learn everything that he needed for tomorrow's exam. The day of the test comes, and both of them get their grades. Is it a surprise that the good student had a bigger grade than the one that is sleep deprived? This goes to show that to have a good, efficient day with deep working hours, you have to be well rested. A lot of the sleep deprivation comes from today's culture of staying up late. But let's rewind back to a time where humans weren't as technologically advanced as today. Let's go back to the Caveman Days. When you think of these humans, you intuitively know that they're very aligned to how they're biologically designed. As soon as the sun rose, the cavemen got up and they did their tasks, meaning that they hunted, they went to adventure out in the world, they cultivated, they gathered resources, they basically spent their whole day outside. And when the sun got closer to night, the cavemen retreated back into their caves. There wasn't another light as strong as the sun, so when it was night, it was pitch black. They had no other choice but to sleep and rest for the next day of their human existence. Now, let's compare that to today's world. We live in cities with millions of other people, and we live with so many distractions and events going on that our minds are usually lost. There's no strict nighttime, so you could basically just turn on the lights whenever you want. And all of these lights outside, for example street lights, prevent us from falling asleep. We also have a culture of staying up much later than when the sun goes down. And those are done usually with activities such as partying, playing video games, going out, or going to concerts. Concerts are one of the best ways to have a shitty sleep because you get so many stimulations from lights, from sound. Your favorite artist is literally there and you get so excited. But then when you go home, you find it very hard to fall asleep. You're not calm at all, and if you do fall asleep, it's because you are very tired. You could also just pick up your phone and with no self-regulation, you could be scrolling away your life. A lot of dumbass teenagers do this, and they fail to realize that sleep makes them grow. But without further ado, let's get into how you can improve your sleep. A large part of your sleep is the amount of light that you take in throughout the day. Light generally indicates that it's daytime and we need to stay awake. The only important way of indicating to yourself that it's day is through the sun. The sun is undeniably one of the essential components of life, next to water and air. It's the infinite source of light and heat, and we need the sun to live, as well as we need the sun to sleep well. Obviously, we know how days go by. We have the sun appearing in the morning, and throughout the morning, we get to the noon, which is the highest point of the sun's appearance in the sky, and then in the afternoon, we get to the sunset. The reason why the sun is important for sleep is because the night is the opposite of day. It's during nights that we're supposed to sleep and recover. And through our eyes, we can captivate the sun. We get sun into our eyes, and this stimulates the cells in the retina with the blue lights of the sun. This is why you see that people say that blue lights before going to sleep is bad for you. But we'll get to that later. This blue light signals to our brains that it's the day, and it produces chemicals to keep us awake. You've got more of these blue light receptors in the lower part of your retina, meaning here, and it gets stimulated when there's light in the sky, which makes sense. You get more stimulated when the sky is brighter. You've also got what's called a biological clock, which resets every 24 hours, and it's part of the circadian rhythm, which regulates when you're awake and when you're sleeping. This clock basically determines how long you have to stay awake for. And we reset this clock when we get the first instance of the sun in the sky, meaning the sunrise. So if you want to sleep better, you have to follow the sun's schedule, when it goes up and when it goes down. So the earlier you reset your biological clock, the earlier you're going to sleep. Give the information to your brain when the sun goes up and also when it goes down. Signaling to your bodily functions when these two events occur will regulate your sleep and you'll get better and deeper slumbers. But if you want to capture sunlight properly, you have to actually go outside. You cannot look at the day through the window because the window is just a square, and also the material blocks a lot of the rays of the sun. And also the difference between being in a room and looking at the sun through the window is that in a room you don't have the overhead sky. As for outside, you have lights everywhere. Also, a myth many people believe is that you cannot get sunlight during cloudy days. Sunlight is obviously not just present when you see the direct sun, but in general, it's when you can see everything that's around you outside. So if you can see your hands, the trees around you, the buildings, the floor, even the clouds itself, then you have sunlight. Of course, seeing the direct sun on a clear day is much more effective, but you still have sunlight on the cloudiest days. So to reset your biological clock, just spend a few minutes outside looking at the sky, and obviously not directly at the sun like a dumbass. And if it's more cloudy outside, then just spend some extra time outside. The way you can verify the amount of light that's around you is through a lux meter. Lux is the international unit of illuminance, and it basically represents how much light there is in a space. I downloaded a lux meter on my iPad, and I tested out different levels of light. Right now you can see the footage that I'm putting up on the screen. When you go outside with a clear sky, and it's the middle of the day, put the camera on the sun, and it's going to give you digits that cannot even show up on the screen. That's how powerful the sun is. And according to science, staying 20 minutes in a space with 1,000 lux is enough to reset your biological clock. So when you see 6-digit numbers of lux or even higher, then you can basically just spend 1 minute. It's going to give you the same effects. You can download any sort of lux meter on your download apps, and you can test out the levels of light for yourself. As you get closer to the light, you see that the digits of lux lowers as the sun sets. And this is also important to see because most of the lux present on Earth comes from the sun. Seeing the amount of light go from 6 digits to 4 will give your brain the information that we have to sleep soon. And as hypocritical as it may seem, right now it's the night, and yesterday I didn't sleep very well. So I'm going to see you on the next piece of footage, which is probably in the morning. Peace. We're back at it again. Now that it's night, we have to be careful with our light intake, because after 10 to 15 hours of waking up, our retinas are more sensitive to light. And this is the part of the video where we'll talk about the hours before sleep. For all of the small steps I'm going to mention in this part of the video, you can take the action to make the night routine, meaning that you set the lights low 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. So firstly, in our rooms, we've got overhead lights which shine pretty brightly. And the mistake that a lot of people make is that they let this lights on all the way until bedtime. When you turn on the lights during daytime, you don't see a lot of changes. But when you turn the lights on in the evening, it makes a complete change between day and night. Our brain processes this overhead light as the sun. And like I previously mentioned, you have more receptors in the lower part of your retina, meaning that you see more of the sky. So seeing this light above you is going to simulate a prolongation of the sun's presence in the sky, and you'll fall asleep later. So what you have to do is set the lights low. You remove the overhead light from your ceiling, and you start putting dimmer lights, which are lower of your eye vision. Those are things like lamps, candles, other stuff like that. For example, I've got this light which I use at the very end of the day, and I barely see with it during the night, but it makes me fall asleep faster. And the essential thing with these lights is that these are below your eye level, meaning here. For the day, you've got the top part of your vision which counts, and for the night, you only have to see light which is below. Put these calmer lights in the lower part of your vision. You should also take into account the light that comes in your room. Usually those are done through street lights if you live in cities. This is a specific case, but if you have street lights or billboards that are shining through your window, find a way to block that light for the night. Find any way that it can block the light. For example, curtains are at least a good solution, even though it's not the best one. Because when you sleep, you have to be in pitch black. You cannot see anything. Now let's get to your technology. A common way for a lot of people to fall asleep is to use their phones until very late nights and until they get very tired. They look at their screens and get stimulation in two ways. One is the light, and two is a psychological trigger. The way that screens work is through emitting light through the pixels of the screen. This light is commonly blue light, which suppresses the body's release to get sleepy. This light is commonly blue light, which suppresses the body's release of hormones to get sleepy. And as you're scrolling on your phone, you're just making it harder for yourself to fall asleep, because it's easier to stay awake than to fall asleep. So thankfully, we've got a few solutions to lower this blue light. To lower the general brightness, you can obviously just switch to dark mode. It makes everything black instead of white in your interface. Then you've got what's called night shift, and this option basically makes the blue light of the screen turn more orange. When you switch from the normal blue light to the red or orange one, I want you to see the difference between the powerful blue lights of your screen and then the calmer variation, which is the orange lights. And since it's orange, it basically doesn't have blue. It's that simple. Another way that I use my devices is I turn everything black and white. The way you do that on iOS is to go to your settings, then accessibility, then display, and text size, then color filter. You can play around this and see how the black and white literally just makes your technology less attractive. To me, it was interesting to see YouTube thumbnails. They weren't even appealing to me. Another way to block blue lights is through blue light glasses. They simply just lower the amount of blue light that you receive. And when you look through them, you see that everything is a bit more orange, like I explained with the night shifts. So you can use these glasses 1 to 2 hours before going to sleep. So for your devices, lower the brightness, turn to night shift, wear these glasses, and also you can just use less of your technology. Yes, it's possible. There are so many other things you can do before nighttime instead of just scrolling. Now, the second outcome of being late on your phone is psychological triggers. This means that when you're using your phone and going to social media, you get stimulation. You get stimulation from texting people, getting notifications, watching YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anything that takes your attention away and lights up your neurons through activity and thinking. Making the brain active before going to sleep literally prevents you from sleeping earlier. You have more in your mind, your ideas start to pop up, and you randomly think of times, like that childhood moment or something you're anxious about. In general, you have to enter the zone of calm, because that is the fastest way to fall asleep. So if you use social media, just don't use it closer to your bedtime. A good way to replace that is by reading. Reading is a nice little practice that you can do, and it prevents you from getting stimulated, for most books at least. And we all know how stories just make us fall asleep. The importance of your night routine is to start becoming calm. The way you do that is through unwinding and cooling off. Another factor of the circadian rhythm is your body's temperature. This means that around 4 a.m., your body is the coolest, and at 4 p.m., your body is the warmest. So the goal of sleeping better is to start cooling off before you go to sleep. So easy steps for that is to cool off your room. So you can do that by opening your window. You can use conditioners and radiators. The point is that your ambient room temperature has to be around 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. You can as well take off layers of your clothes, and you can even take a cold shower. Those are both easy steps to cool the body's temperature. Another simple way of doing that is by lowering our heart rate. Going to sleep with a lowered heart rate makes us fall asleep faster. And a nice little practice that I did for a while is I laid down on the floor, I meditated, and apparently that gave me a lot of calm. I felt more relaxed than when I was laying in my bed. But it's more practical if you cool off your mental, because your mental will project what you do in the physical world. This entails that you do the calm habits, which is like reading, meditation, journaling, etc. The importance of these habits is to create a night routine. Not only will they be productive when you do them, but it will also give you habits that you can do to calm yourself down in your night routine. All of these activities require you to not take in too much information. Before going to sleep, it's better to do activities where you externalize instead of internalizing information. This is why journaling is a great way. Journaling is literally just the externalization of your thoughts and emotions. And the best kind of journaling before you go to sleep is the to-do list, which I mentioned in my full mental health guide. If you haven't watched that video, I recommend you check it out. I put the link down in the description. The to-do list will essentially make you forget about what you have to do tomorrow because you've already written down, so you have no worries. Let's say, for example, you have an important announcement to your best friend. Do not think and fantasize before going to sleep. You write down what you want to say and also the important points. This will give you a lot of free mental space and you'll just have a better sleep when you do that. So get your thoughts out. It's the sun. The important factor of having a good sleep schedule is consistency. Having a consistent sleep schedule will massively improve your recovery. So what you have to do is sleep at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning. It's important to do this because your body will know how to regulate your circadian rhythm and your brain is going to know when it's going to produce certain chemicals. And your body panics when it doesn't know when you're going to sleep. For this chapter, it's not really about improving your sleep. What matters more is consistency. Think of the rest of your life and how you're going to sleep at the same time every day. So that includes the realization that weekends are a misconception. They've been created by humans because they have work between Monday and Friday, and Saturday and Sunday they get to rest. But where most people get it wrong is when they sleep later and they wake up later. This doesn't give you better time, or it doesn't give you more time in your day. So if you can, which is probably the case, sleep at the same time every single day. Now here's the situation. You have to wake up tomorrow at 7 a.m. and want 9 hours of sleep. At what time do you go to sleep the day before? You'd say 10 p.m., right? Well, that is wrong. Sleeping that amount happens when you fall asleep instantly as you hit the pillow, and if you get 100% efficiency in your sleep, which is probably not the case. You have to stay more than 9 hours in bed if you want 9 hours of sleep, because hours in bed does not equals hours of sleep. Falling asleep happens when you do all the steps that I previously mentioned, which are cooling off, lowering your brightness, and having a consistent sleep schedule. But it also comes from simply just deserving the sleep. Sleep is recovery, right? If you just lay in bed all day and scroll away your life, do you have anything to recover from? You don't deserve to sleep as much as when you're working hard throughout the day. This work can be mental and physical. So you have to do more during the day, like tearing your muscles apart. Like through workouts, and you can also just freeze your brain by actually working a lot. So you have to do more during the day and work more so you become tired and actually deserve the sleep. It's having something to recover from. An easy way of increasing your reason to sleep is through exercise. Exercise is just healthy overall, and when you work out, you deplete your body's energy, and when you sleep, you'll have more to recover from. If you don't go to sleep tired, then you could have done more during the day. The bed should be so comfortable when you lie on it, and the best scenario, the best outcome, is that we fall asleep as soon as our heads touch the pillow. So basically do more and you'll sleep more efficiently. Also, what is sleep efficiency? This is the percentage of how much good sleep you get for the time that you spend in bed. With efficient sleep, you don't wake up in the middle of the night, you don't fall asleep in an hour, and you also tap into a lot of deep sleep. The simple way to increase sleep efficiency is literally just following the steps that I mentioned previously. Another way to sleep better, or well, living better, is to breathe through your nose. There are two ways to breathe, from your mouth and from your nose, but they have a difference. When you breathe from your mouth, all of your mouth just dries up, your skull doesn't fully develop, and you also look like you're missing a chromosome. Like, we're meant to be breathing through our nose and to keep our mouths shut. Obviously, this is a topic for another day, but if you want to continue researching that, you can type M-U-W-I-N-G, mewing. And the more you adopt this way of breathing, the more it'll become your default way of breathing, meaning that you're going to also breathe like that during the night. And to relax yourself, take a deep breath in. And slowly let it out. This breathing pattern is used to calm yourself down because you're exhaling longer than what you're inhaling. It's raining outside. I can also add how waking up to an alarm I can also add how waking up to an alarm clock is unhealthy and non-natural. You get snapped out of your sleep and you get instant stress. This would be similar to waking up to a danger instantly back in the caveman days. For example, like a mammoth just blocks your whole cave and attacks everybody. So instead of having these default ringtones that are loud, you can put something more calm. I think there is apps for that. And on the subject of clocks, we have biological clocks which actually wakes us up at the same time every day. Of course, not exactly every day, but within a 30 to 60 minute range. So having a sleep schedule for every single day is beneficial, waking up at the same time and sleeping at the same time. And also, for more consistent behaviors, you have to avoid naps. Taking naps literally just means that you haven't properly recovered from actual sleep. And so they will also take away ability to sleep more during the night. So try to avoid naps. Now, I'll show you ways to improve your sleep with easy steps. For a whole week, you are going to wake up at the same time every single day. So for example, 7 a.m. No matter the amount of sleep that you had the night before, no matter how tired you feel when you wake up, you will get up at 7. Be okay with being sleep deprived in the first days of this protocol. You'll find yourself falling asleep sooner. And over time, when you do this, you'll find yourself falling asleep easier at like 9 or 10 p.m. This protocol was just a tip, and all of the things that you heard in this video might be overwhelming, but I got you covered. This is why we need a structure for our plan in improving our sleep. What you have to do to improve your sleep is to set a consistent schedule that you're going to follow every day. Decide now what time you're going to wake up and at what time you're going to sleep. When you answer these two questions, you'll have to think about the rest of your life. How are you going to sleep for the rest of your life? So if you want to sleep 8 hours or more, you can go to sleep at 21 and wake up at 6:30. So for the rest of your life, you're going to sleep at 21 and wake up at 6:30. So decide now what these two times are going to be. Once you've made your choice, you can make a habit tracker. If you haven't checked out my full mental health guide, go watch it. I talked about the power of habit trackers and how useful they are. And if you're watching this in the future, then in a couple months of the posting of this video, you will probably see the video about the power of habit trackers. So you can also check out my channel. With your habit tracker, I want you to write the time you go to bed and when you get up from bed. So it will look something like this here. This is your habit tracker. This is the time when you wake up, and this is when you sleep. These are the days of the week that you follow through. So let's take, for example, this day, the 3rd of January. You wake up at 6:30, you write that down, and then you write when you're going to sleep, which is here. Your goal is to have this sleeping schedule here. Every day, you basically try to just sleep better and also sleep at the same time written in the schedule. This will give you quantifiable data of your sleeping schedule, and over the weeks and months, you're going to see how much progress you've made with your sleep. So your second step is basically to write this. Not exactly, but I want you to write the format, meaning that you write the days here, and the waking time as well as the sleeping time, and lastly, the goal. The next step to add onto this is to make a night routine. More specifically, a timetable for your night routine. You can start this night routine 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, but here's the example. Here, we have a 2-hour block of time lasting from 19 to 21. First, we see the habit of journaling about a to-do list. And like I previously mentioned, the to-do list will get rid of any thoughts or worries you have. You can write about what you will do tomorrow, but you can also just write plans for the next weeks or months. For example, you can write about how you're going to improve your sleep. Next, we got 2 great habits, which are meditation and gratitude journaling. These serve for self-improvement. If you haven't watched my full mental health guide and listened to these 2 chapters, basically meditation is the practice for mindfulness, and gratitude journaling is the practice of being grateful. For sure, in the next few months, I'm going to make the videos about these 2 things. So if you're part of the lucky people that's watching in the future, you can go ahead and check my channel. And the last part of your routine is reading. Reading is just a nice and comfortable habit of learning, but also for relaxing. In my experience, it makes me sleepier. So as soon as you feel tired, even before 21, you just throw away your book and go to sleep. Our aim in improving our sleep is to fall asleep quicker. I made this little graph representing that over the days, you fall asleep quicker and quicker. So we go from 1 hour of falling asleep, all stimulated and just rolling in bed, constantly thinking, to 5 minutes of literally just a transition to a consciousness. And you can also journal about how you're falling asleep. And in your night routine, you have to implement the steps that I talked about earlier, which are lowering the lights and cooling off. So I'll give you a little summary of how that goes. Setting the lights low has 2 meanings. One, it's basically just lowering the brightness of the lights around you and putting more calm lights like candles. And the second one is putting these lights below our eye line. That means not having lights that are over you, but below your eye level, like this. You good? Yeah. You can also try to block the light coming through the window during night, if that is a problem that you're facing. Then you've got cooling down, which has 2 meanings. One is physical. Therefore, you have to lower your body temperature. This is done by cooling off your room, removing layers of clothes, using your air conditioner or opening your window to cool your room. And this is all to find the perfect ambient temperature of your room, which is around 60 to 18 degrees Celsius. We also have to lower our heart rates, and this is generally done just naturally when you become calmer. But you can experiment with laying on a hard surface, which is your floor. And in my experience, I meditated 15 minutes on the floor, and I couldn't even get up from how calm I was. The second way to cool down is mentally, with the activities in our brains. And the biggest distraction and stimulating thing is technology. Don't go to your messages, your notifications. By the way, you really need to remove notifications. You have no idea how much it's a distraction. Don't go to TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, any social media that will just activate your brain and will make you start to think. You should also lower the lights of your screens as well as block the blue lights. And that is through putting the blue light filter, the night shift, wearing your glasses, and so on. You can schedule the night shift on your phone so you can make it easier for yourself. And in life, when you do something, you usually only just do that. If you're listening to music, just listen to music. If you're playing video games, just focus on playing video games. If you're recording a video, just record the video. And with this logic, when you go to sleep, just focus on sleeping. Don't do something else like using these soul-snatching apps or even listening to music when you're sleeping. Your eyes aren't the only way that you can get stimulated. You also have your ears. So a good piece of advice that I could have used 2 years ago is don't listen to music when you want to sleep. Because if you're listening to music and you're in bed, you are not sleeping. You're just listening to music. Concentrate on your sleeping and let your mind relax as you fall asleep. As a part of your morning routine, go outside and capture some sunlight. Like I said, 1 to 2 minutes outside with a clear day and a direct sun is enough. But if it's cloudy, you can spend 20 minutes. But to keep this habit consistent, you have to go outside no matter the weather. The internet personality that preaches this idea a lot, he's a well-known scientist and he makes long-form podcasts. His name is Andrew Huberman. In the description, you can find a video about sleep that he made. Then, what he also recommends is to look not only at the sunrise, but also at the sunset. This will indicate your biological clock that the day is ending. And in general, you just have to deserve this sleep. Get some time out of your day to work intensely. Whether it's on your business, your craft, your work, your purpose, anything that takes time and dedication. A great way to put in work is through exercise. But of course, don't exercise too close to bedtime. A good practice to look into and make productive research over is breathing through your nose. Breathing through your nose is much healthier than breathing through your mouth. And when you look it up on Google, you'll clearly see why. And lastly, you have to know why you're improving your sleep and what the purpose of this is. You want to live a better life, right? Then improve your sleep. That's literally the first thing that I said in this video. Everything will get better as you improve the quality of your sleep. You'll become so healthy as you improve your sleep over 5 years, 10 years, even your whole life. And your aim with this journey of having a better sleep schedule is to follow the sun's rhythm, meaning that you wake up when the sun rises and you go to sleep when the sun sets. You'll also want to add 1 extra hour of sleep so you can recover more and you reorganize your mind. Better recovery means that you refill the tank of your focus and the tank of your energy, which will lead to more efficient studies for students and bigger gains for those who work out. And this also just means that you live a better life. Everything will improve as you improve your sleep. It's that simple. So follow the steps that I gave you in this video and make some extra research on sleep. And finally, thank you for watching the video. I hope this guide for sleeping is the only one you're going to watch, since it literally has everything you need to start. And if you have a bad sleep schedule right now, and you're willing to actually change it, I want you to just follow the steps that I told you in this video. And if you're watching this just before you go to sleep, I wish you a good night. When I started improving my sleep, I used to have an alarm at 6:47, and the song literally comes from a song called 647. So I wish you a good night, or day, and I'll see you on the next one. Sleep well.